Hello. 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 Hello.
Almost there. Do I need to like start creating like my robot doing like silly prompts or something like that in the chat? Just as like a unprompted, what is everyone's morning, afternoon, or evening? Lord knows I do, like, Lord knows I will, like, you know, I can do, like, the whole yapping and chatting and what have you. But, you know. Also, I should probably double check and make sure that my phone is properly charged and what have you. And yes, it is. Thank goodness. Mm, yeah. There we go. Oh, did LeBron? Oh, nice. They got level 3 boosted. Good for them. Good for them. How the handsome C be doing? I be doing better today than I have the than the last few the last like day or two. Also, I need to make sure that my hands are like properly plugged in and doing the tracking. No, what I need to do is I need to make sure I have the no, hang on. I missed a really critical thing. The work laptop. I need to make sure that shit is turned on. I nearly tripped on the carpet. How the fuck did that happen? The universe wants something done to me. The universe wants to harm me, it seems. I'm not getting the dopamine that I want. I'm never winning the lottery as much as I'd love to. And for whatever reason, like, I almost tripped on a carpet that I have in my living room, that I've had in my living room for over 2 years. And for whatever reason, my foot was like, you know what? We're gonna get caught on that shit. Gee, thanks. That's exactly what I needed today. Was getting my foot caught on the carpet. Alright, so... where... I took notes this time, chat. I took notes this time. So... so, I be doing pretty good. Because, like, I didn't work today. The reason I didn't work today is because I worked Saturday. Why didn't I take the Monday off? Because technically we were already getting the Monday off because of a public holiday, and I didn't want to be like, oh, let me take the Tuesday off as well, because Tuesday is a busy day at work, and normally that's when we swap from, like, you know, their normal shifts. That's when we swap the whatsamahoozy shifts, the on-call shift, and it went over to me at that time. But yeah, last everyone heard from me was Wednesday night, when, you know, there was the whole... Oh, hang on, I need to stop that. Swipe this up. Yep, cool, all that is on. I don't have any focus mode turned on. But yeah, so last time I was, like, online, and, you know, for everyone that wasn't in, like, you know, direct contact with me, it was Wednesday, and I missed out on an on-call phone call that went off at, like, 5:20 or something like that. Normally, on a stream night... If I'm usually pretty good with the phone calls. I pick them up, Mushi, GrantZeebs, desktop support. I give them the desktop support spiel. I get that done in, like, you know, ideally less than an hour. And then, you know, I hang up and I go on with the rest of my stream. Now... That did not happen on Wednesday. I missed the phone call, and I felt bad for it because I was given so much praise by one of the New Zealand staff members of, oh, you can rely on Grant. He has never missed a phone call for when he's been, like, level 1, and he's been a weapon for if you miss it, he gets it on the level 2 and what have you. I missed the level 1 call. And it's like there's no good reason for missing it. I wasn't in a tunnel, I wasn't in the shower, I wasn't, in a dead zone on reception. Quite literally, my phone was just sitting in another room. I didn't have my watch on to also do the notification to my wrist, which would have been a good indicator. So and because I was at my computer with headphones on, for whatever reason, I forgot I didn't have my phone beside me, so I missed the phone call that went off, and then just ended up, I just ended up like missing the call, and then it went up to our level 2s over in New Zealand. And yeah, I was sending him messages thinking, oh, like, at least like I'm awake, like far more awake than he is. At least give my 2 cents of like, hey, give him assistance and what have you, because we're helping people remote and all that. Fast forward, it did not get solved in a couple minutes. I'm still like, sending him text messages during stream, and I just couldn't get my brain properly quadranted between, helping him out on the phone call versus doing my stream thing, because he's already assisting the user. So I decided to cancel stream like 30 minutes in or something like that. An hour and a half later, we've concluded that we can't help the person that like gave us the phone call and all that kind of nonsense. It was a terrible time. The one phone call I missed was like the one phone call was like led to the one issue that was like, a 2-hour spiel, and I felt absolute terrible for it. I just felt absolute like the worst for it. It's like, especially after like, I got such praise from like one of the other New Zealand peeps for, oh, Grant, he doesn't fuck up on his on-call. He's really good at it and such. I felt terrible for it. So, yeah, it hurt. So I go into Thursday, I'm busy with work and what have you, and at one, like, I'm just doing my job. I'm doing my job. I feel like I do a good job when I'm focused. Also, where in the F is the... Oh, I guess my character died like a whiles ago. I do my best. I try to do a good job and what have you, and I don't, like, it didn't work out that Wednesday, and being able to properly separate myself from like work brain and streamer brain. So I decided to treat myself to a brand new game. Did I properly set up my... Yes, I did. Awesome. Cool. I set myself up. I got myself a brand new game. Where is it? I'm gonna get it started right now, just so then that way, like... Okay, so it looks like they're doing it in episodes. Phenomenon. Let SDN be your rock. Nice. But yeah, so I treated myself to picking up this brand new game. I picked up this brand new game, and because here's the thing, I like adventure games, okay? Like, prior to streaming, I went through a lot of the Telltale games. I don't think I went through a Telltale game when I started streaming, because like the last one I played was the last season of The Walking Dead, which was it was a bit of a hollow kind of like celebration or victory, because it was the last game that Skybound or that Telltale was working on. Skybound came in to, finish it off and such, and it very much was a this is it. This is the last of it. Yep, quick offenses. Unlimited hacking attempts is off. Turn on speaker names. Subtitle color is per character. Replace licensed music is off. Profanity filter is off. Visual censorship is off. Allow remote thingamadiggy, I guess. Display mode, full screen. Can I... Windowed. Okay, so it is just windowed and full screen. Cool. And then pause on loss of focus. I'm fine with that. Shift music, SFX, voiceover, dialogue boost. We'll do a dialogue boost. We don't need colorblind. We don't need a motion visual... Text size, standard. Let's go with a bigger text, so then that way you can read it. choice stats for episode 1. These are only available with deluxe edition. Ooh, I love the look of her. She's sexy. I like her. But yeah, I very much liked Telltale games, you know, growing up with video games and what have you. Those were like, they were available on PC, so those were like, weirdly enough, ones that I actually did play. And my personal favorites, I think, would have been the Batman and Tales from the Borderlands. Those two were probably like my favorite from Telltale Games and such. I went through the demo of this game, and I honestly, I liked it. I think it has the right, like, I do want to know what the story is going to be and all that kind of nonsense, and it definitely hooked me onto that. The voiceover talent in there is a pretty good mix, and I'm curious how they're going to do the episode, like, you know, like how the episodes are going to, like, you know, go through their motions and ending and such. Because thankfully they've already completed all the episodes, but they're doing this in the same sort of way that you go about with television, which is they've already got the season wrapped up, and they're doing episode 1 and 2 right now. I think in 2 weeks or a month, we're getting episode 3, and then 2, and then later on episode 4, or however many episodes. So they're going about this, you know, in a, like, there isn't going to be a case of, oh, they've only got episode 1 done, they're still going through funding to get episode 2 done, or anything like that. It's like, no, all of them are done. They're just, you know, stagnating the releases, so then that way, you know, in the landscape of the streaming environment on Netflix, Twitch, Mixer, and Kick, and all those other nonsense, they want to give people pacing, because the only other way that you can have, like, the rest of the, you know, the or not the universe, but the rest of the fandom at the same pace, and, you know, not falling into spoilers or worried about spoilers, is 2 ways. Number 1, you do this. You do the whole, like, you know, you release it in episodic, you know, transitions. Or, number 2, which is what Elden Ring was somehow able to accomplish, and to some degree, Monster Hunter Wilds, the difficulty curve is used as a sort of natural pacer. So, like, you know, they only, like, you know, particular points in the franchise are talked about on, like, a weekly basis, because of just where the rest of the audience is in terms of, you know, going through the game and what have you. I am going to slip into my VC, so then that way peeps, if peeps do want to converse and all that kind of nonsense, they can. But yeah. But yeah. Let's go. Oh yeah, we already picked all this stuff. I'm using keyboard and mouse for this one. I'm not that big of a streamer where I need to be worried about licensed music and all that kind of bullshit. Quick time events, cinematic, interactive. What's the difference between the... It hides the quick time events. Okay, no, let's show the quick time events. Like, I don't want to just sort of sit back. I don't want to lean back. Also, what is up with this? Come on, tracking. Like, it doesn't know if I'm... doesn't catch on to me, like, leaning forward or backwards, so... Here we go. Collaboration with Critical Role. Ooh, okay, okay. So,
obviously, I love him. He's my dad.
Am I?
What is that?
No drops.
Just say what you want to say.
It's just, when you add obviously, it feels a little less obvious. So, I'll ask again. How do you really feel about your father? It's as if maybe it's a little more complicated than you feel comfortable admitting, which is completely understandable.
Look, he's gone.
That's a bit of an understatement.
How so?
Well, he's more than gone, because he's fucking dead. That's the most gone you can be.
This is not a therapy session.
If I didn't love him, we wouldn't be here, right?
We don't have to get into it.
Oh, he's on the ground. No, he just got here out of a fight.
Who killed him if I didn't love him? Why would I be doing any of this? Shit. My nose is bleeding. Thought I was getting emotionally snotty.
No, it's probably from when I kicked you in the face.
Yeah, thanks for reminding me. So, here's what's gonna happen. I'm gonna hang you off the side of this building, and you're gonna tell me where Shroud is, or I'm going to drop you to your death.
Come on, I thought we were having a breakthrough.
Hey, we did. You know, for being a
Interesting.
real piece of shit, you're pretty easy to talk to, but the only breakthrough I need right now is the location of Shroud.
I'm not telling you shit, you fucking loser!
See, this is more like how I thought this would go.
I hope Shroud kills you just like he killed your father. I hope he fucking spanks your little daddy issue bitch ass to death, you hear me? Are we outside?
Windy up here tonight, huh?
Why are we outside?
No telling where you'll
It
land.
smells like outside smells. Fuck, wait,
Hey,
wait!
I have neighbors. Use your inside voice and just tell me where Shroud is.
I don't think he's gonna use any inside voice.
Steel mill, Llewellyn Steelworks, okay? Fuck!
You sure about that?
Yes,
Oh, he's up
please.
like 2
No, I know.
floors.
Stop
Jesus.
screaming, god damn it.
Help! Help!
Hey, I will pull you up if you quiet the fuck down.
Help!
Sir, if you want something to scream about, I'll give you
Okay, so I didn't pick A. I just let that run out. So it looks like
You piece of shit!
Hey, I ruined a perfectly good mattress to make sure you didn't die.
oh, okay.
You're welcome.
So it looks like there's some like natural. All right, so circle timing. Nice. This is cool. But yeah, obviously, if I don't pick something, it will pick something for me. There isn't a quote-unquote silent option. Wild Saber, hi, welcome. I have no idea what TV show you're talking about. We've talked about this. About the whole, like, dumping information, like, on first thing. Say hi. Say good evening or morning or something like that. Okay, so I'm guessing Shroud is like some sort of mechanical dude. Like, makes mechanical nonsense. Hmm. Nice.
Holy shit, he's here!
Didn't he have like a suit? Like a really big suit? Short and sweet quick time events, that's fine, that's fine. Ooh, okay.
Time to finish this.
And I can hold down the thingy-majiggy. Oh.
And a swish. All right, next one.
Oh, okay, I see, I need to...
Just one more.
Alright.
All right, got it.
Guide avatars downwards to complete infiltration. Nice. lot of information on that little iPad. Yeah. That's not Shroud.
Hey, can I get a copy of that video when we're through here? 'Cause it's over, Shroud. And it would be nice to watch that back at a different angle.
Oh no, it's over, Shroud!
All this build up, face to face with your father's killer, and you come in here with that lame shit?
Where the
Yeah.
fuck is Shroud?
We'll be here in a bit. Oh, hey! After our conversation, I asked him
So a
about
little bit of
fun little
lampshading.
tidbit. He was very well hydrated. Turns out right after Shroud shot him in the chest, your dad pissed his pants. Bet you didn't know that, huh? So after that bullet tore through his insides, he still had enough time to know how absolutely fucked he was and just pissed himself like a little bitch. It was like so much piss. Because your dad was wearing shorts, so
Hey.
it just kept...
I get it.
What's punting? Ah, there we go. Alright, I thought I was gonna kill him, but... Alright, so now we get a super suit. Cool. Hi, Izzy! Welcome to the stream. We just got started, by the by. You haven't missed anything.
Need to waste a perfect...
So, Mecha Man's dad was killed.
I assume that cum stain thing was already in the dumpster.
Can we just skip to the part where you reveal your bullshit superpower so we can fight for real?
So, yeah. He's not dead. Oh, he's weird. The fuck is... Yeah.
Cool dick. So,
What the shit?
clever supervillain name?
You can call me toxic.
Bro.
Okay. Alright, so maybe I do need to turn on the, where is it? Here it is. Visual censorship. I didn't think they would do that.
That works on so many levels.
Thankfully, it was like slightly blurry, but... Oh, Jesus Christ.
Shroud's augments are pretty good when normies like you use them. When you put...
Lol, his dick is just... I thought they would just, you know, Ken doll it at this stage, but no, they were committed to having that dick out the entire time.
Fuck.
Oh, shit. Sorry, I just got distracted. Sorry, I missed the first, like, 2 prompts.
Figures.
Oh, electric powers? The fuck? And they're not in the normal color scheme as all the villains. Other, like, villain goons and what have you. Uh-oh. Okay, so I need a... So there is, like... So there is, like, room... Like, it doesn't go on the rails. Go. And, like, I need to be all the way when I do the moves, so... Oh... Yeah, that Alright, so we got a blob dude. Okay, that's some crazy fucking, like, utilization of power. So even if you have, like, questionable, like, you know, what's-a-mahoozy, like, good utilization.
Now!
Alright, power sources. We might be dead as fuck. I don't know how big our guy is within the suit, like if his legs go to the legs or if he's only in like sort of the center cockpit like a proper mech. There we go. Alright, 52 seconds to try and figure out how to get out of this situation. Or 52 seconds to figure out how to kill Shroud. Oh, 50 seconds. Alright, so we don't have...
So, what do you got left on them shields? I said 40%, but Boss Man says you're down to 28. And he is not wrong about these things.
Oh, it's not seconds, it's percentile.
Says he just wants the Astro Pulse, which we all know isn't really yours anyway.
Ooh, okay, okay. Oh, he's like right in visual.
System check. Calculate the damage per second hitting shields. Then tell me how many seconds I need to divert Astral Pulse energy to rocket boosters.
12.89 seconds of damage before critical.
Oh hey, Boss Man says if you're planning on diverting pulse power to the boosters, it won't work. This is a limited time offer, dude. What's up? You were so fucking talkative earlier.
Yeah.
I'm just the messenger here.
He says you're not calculating that shit stuck to your leg, dumbass.
Fuck it.
So either Shroud, like, Shroud is probably responsible for portions of this thing being made, but let's see.
Hey, great. All going to plan. Now get out of there, babe.
Come on!
There we go. And we got out of there. It might be worth outside of stream double checking just how like is it gonna be just like a blurry thing or is it gonna just be proper dick
Status.
that they're showing?
Status stable. Foreign device detected.
There's a bomb. Yep. Corona is insane. Thank you for the follow, and you are absolutely correct. Corona is insane. Oh, okay. So we didn't even get a really good way of getting. Fuck! Imagine the property damage. Ah, Masonic! So yeah, okay. So Shroud, has the goons and all that, and is able to do the all the cool mechanical nonsense.
4 months ago that images like this were recorded across the Southland. Videos flooded social media and our newsroom.
He's gonna hit the.
Many thought to be.
Oh, okay. I thought he was gonna crash right on top of the house.
For nearly 50 years, a Mecha Man has protected Los Angeles.
Ooh,
Built by an ordinary civilian with no superpowers.
interesting.
This first suit was dubbed by some fans as Mecha Man Prime. 3 generations of pilot, their identities kept secret, have given everything to protect this community, including their lives. After the tragic passing of Prime, the next Mecha Man, known as Astral, teamed up with a star-studded superhero group known as the Brave Brigade, leading to an unprecedented period of peace.
I'm guessing the Astral one is the
After years
dad.
of loyal service, tragedy struck again when Shroud, a former Brave Brigade member turned villain, killed the pilot of Mecha Man in cold blood.
Ooh.
But yet again, as hope was lost, a 3rd generation of Mecha Man emerged. A Mecha Man for the modern era. A bulwark against organized crime in the greater Los Angeles area. Until today. Earlier today, Mecha Man broke his silence and addressed the media.
All right, so 4 months ago, his his suit was like broken or something or rather.
There's been a lot of speculation about my health and the state of the Mecha Man suit, and I'm here to put that speculation to rest. The suit has been damaged beyond my ability to repair, so I will be stepping back from superhero work, effective immediately.
Does this mean you're finished?
Can you repair your suit?
Next for Mecha Man.
Does this mean your career is over?
He literally answered those
One at
two
a time, please.
things like at the start.
San Pedro Daily, do you have anything to say to your fans? The public outpouring, the vigils, a lot of them were worried you wouldn't wake up.
I just want to say thank you for the support. I hope to be worthy of it. Next question.
Chris Stratton, Torrance Tribune. Does this mean you're retiring as Mecha Man? Word on the street is you're donezo.
Are you 100 years old? Why are you talking like that?
Answer the question, buddy boy. Are you retiring? My readers need the skinny, and I aim to deliver. Let's get it on the record.
Not yet.
Look, I'm not retiring. Not yet, at least.
Any idea what you can do without the Mecha Man suit?
Not yet. All right, just one more, please. I gotta get back to, just one more. Preferably someone from the Century.
Charles Kingsley, South Bay Signal. So, Shroud kills your father, goes to jail 15 years, breaks out, and...
Why do you look like Steve Bannon?
Where he destroys the Mecha Man suit and puts you in a coma for months.
Was there a
I
question?
didn't hear a question in there.
Two-parter. First, why didn't Shroud kill you? You haven't been conscious for months. It'd be easy money taking you out.
Okay, Shroud wanted the Astral Pulse and Mecha Man gone. He got both. I'm not sure I mattered much.
Right. You're unimportant. Which leads me to my next question. Most heroes avenge their family. You did the opposite. You killed their legacy. How disappointed would your dad be if he were here right now?
Jesus, this guy's an
Your
ass.
father, your grandfather, they must be rolling over in their graves.
Fuck you. I have no idea what answer I would give. I'm not trusting. I'm not trusting whatever this game was gonna tell me was the answer.
Is Mecha Man a mecha quitter?
Yeah, I mean, it seemed like it'd be better if he died than be a mecha coward, you know? What kind of example is he setting? Stay tuned to find out.
Serious, guys? Although, to be real with you, like...
Hey, assholes. Yeah, just put the TVs back and you can leave. I won't say anything to the cops, and this doesn't need to escalate.
Hey, who are you calling assholes, asshole?
I'll handle this idiot. Keep loading. We're out of here in 30. And who the fuck are you?
Yeah, you, go fucking hobo ranger. Who the fuck are you?
Honestly, I'm not sure anymore.
Right, well that feels heavy. But I don't know you, so I don't give a fuck.
Whatever the case, I'm enough to deal with a pack of fucking Skittles idiots like you.
Skittles.
Oh, God damn it.
Alright.
You're hurt. You're not thinking straight. You don't want to fight someone who knows which hand every punch is coming from.
I didn't realize punching with my left. I feel like I thought I was setting up for failure with if I was gonna go for the left, but maybe punching with the left might have been like a nice trick. Well, that's not... That's definitely gonna start some Nightingale.
He landed on the roof, right?
All good.
Phew. Hi, I'm Blonde Blazer. I work over at Superhero Dispatch Network.
Hey, hi, yeah. I know who you are. You're like, famous.
Oh, I don't know about that. I'm just a corporate hero for hire. You're the real dude. You're the famous one.
How's it going, Miss Sonic?
Right, I don't think infamous is the same as famous, but...
Oh god, your arm.
Ah, fuck. Oh yeah, that's gross.
Yeah, you look like some kind of mime DJ. Let me see it. I'll help you. Usually dislocates the other way.
Okay, but have you done this before? Because maybe... Ow! Ow! Okay. Wow, that's okay. Thank you.
Nice.
One of them is on that roof.
You look like you could use a drink.
What makes you say that?
Oh, cool. It's like a bar for superheroes.
Shit. They were all Skittles colored. I didn't even realize it.
Yeah, well, you know what? They can taste the rainbow in jail.
What do you mean? Like different colored dicks? Shit. Sorry.
I actually didn't know what I meant, but you know what? It should have been that.
I'm a little buzzed. I don't really make jokes like that. I think Vizzy's rubbing off on me.
Who?
Someone I work with. It's... yeah.
Rabbi, thank you for the follow. I greatly appreciate it.
I can't tell which one of us had the rough day.
Oh, no. I had a great day. Well, that's not totally true.
You just downed a beer in one go, lady.
It's fine.
That's not a normal thing to do in the
Something
States.
To do with the powers. It takes a lot for me to feel anything.
What a sad sentence.
Also, we're not as banged up anymore.
You should give yourself more credit to do what you did.
Nice model, thank you. It was done by Wolcon.
Without superpowers.
Not true. What do you call this?
I can fix that one for you too.
No thanks, I like this one.
Thank you.
Plus, if you can dislocate your thumb, it's easier to break out of handcuffs and shit.
So, how did you afford all that? You must have spent hundreds of thousands of...
Millions. So you'll understand when the check comes.
You're serious? Millions.
Yeah, I basically burned through my entire inheritance keeping it going. The last couple of years have just been duct tape and sheer determination.
Now I'm really curious how the
What?
previous Mecha Man...
Sacrifice everything to be a superhero to the point of financial...
Ruin?
I was gonna say hardship, but ruin was the first word that came to mind, yeah. You must be completely broke at this point.
It's the only thing...
Honestly, it's the only thing I'm good at.
Now that's a sad sentence. Come on, that can't be true.
I reckon he believes that, and I would definitely have him say that.
So, are you drunk yet or what?
I'm sure she could drink an entire distillery of whiskey and survive. Most likely, possibly.
Because I was hoping after some...
She's probably like a superwoman-alike
learn a
thing.
little more about you. And, if all that went well, present you with a proposition.
This is a recruitment.
proposition?
Or, nah, this is probably just charity.
Figure out if this is a fit or not, you know? Then it's just a matter of picking the right moment.
Well, propositions late at night in a bar can go any number of ways.
That's actually not water.
God, this is like pure alcohol.
It's not like alcohol, it is alcohol. I know because you spit it directly into my open mouth. That's water. That, see how it has ice in it?
You drink hard liquor from a pint glass?
Actually, I usually just drink it straight from the bottle, but I thought that would be embarrassing.
Fuck!
I'm gonna go clean up.
I'm so sorry.
Hang on, I need to fix my model. Hang on. There we go.
What are you
What?
doing?
Actually, what in the world? Like,
Hey, bitch! Hey, I'm talking to you, bitch.
Alright, just so you know, I only turned around because someone yelled, not because I'm a bitch or anything.
Don't you watch the news? This is a superhero bar.
Oh, wow, are you a superhero? That's so cool. Is this your power? You're like, tell people obvious shit guy?
yeah.
Well, you're really going to act like you don't remember me.
Wait, it's coming back to me. Hold on. Yeah, it's coming back to me. Oh, wait. I know it. You are sunglasses indoors at night guy. Your superpower is that you're able to let everyone know in the room that you're a douchebag, because you should literally never do that unless you're at the final table of the World Series of Poker, but even then, if you win, you're still a fucking loser.
Shit.
Yes, I gotta laugh.
You good? Sorry, I choked on my spit. No.
So she's like Wolverine. Yeah.
I control the fire.
The fire?
And the flame. And my skin does not burn. I am Flambe. And you...
Wait, oh shit, I do remember. You're that shitty villain I busted up.
Not anymore, mecha dick. As I literally just said. I am Flambe, a real superhero. And you are not
Flambe?
a man anymore.
Bay?
So, you need to get the fuck out of here. Now, we can do this the easy way. Fuck.
There, easy way.
Nice.
You're gonna hit me now, right?
I've been waiting a long time for this.
Oh no. Did he just lose a tooth?
Holy shit!
Did he just lose a front tooth? Oh my god, he just lost a tooth!
Your mouth. It's whistling. Come on, we should get you to a hospital.
No, Coop! Fucking guy needs a dentist.
I've got it on ice. Should be able to reattach it.
Teeth don't work that way. You're thinking of fingers and dicks. You know what? Give it a shot.
Hey, Mecha Dick, get the fuck out of here.
Oh, come on.
Can you just tell Blazer I'm outside?
Out!
Relax, I'm leaving.
Ugh. Also, why is his arms smaller than usual? Kryptonite.
Hey, I couldn't find you.
It's cool. I was just admiring the art on this dumpster. Can't tell why anyone would put those words together.
Barf.
Why are you holding drinks?
Nightcap?
You're in trouble.
Actually, according to the bartender, that's exactly what you are. What happened in there?
Threw water on
I walk out and
asshole.
The bartender's pissed. The whole energy is awkward. And I almost rolled the heck out of my ankle on this slippery floor.
A little flare up with some guy, but it, extinguished pretty quick.
A flare-up.
Yeah? Does that not sound convincing enough?
Hold these. I know a place.
Aaron Paul, you're good with the puns.
It's a little out there. Easier if we fly.
Oh. Okay, so her flying thing is not like herself flying. It's like, it looks like there's a zone. Because she wasn't holding any of the cans or anything like that. She's just effortlessly carrying us. I know this wants me to, like, enjoy the atmosphere and what have you, but I'm already in the mind of, like, alright, analytics. What is her power? Where is the vulnerabilities that we have to be mindful of if we ever have to, get her for support and such? But yeah, it is cool. So far, I'm enjoying this. Booty shorts. Oh, is that Omninet Man?
I actually thought you were taking us to sit on it.
Oh yeah, that would have been cool.
That there was a
This is better.
funicular? What?
And it looks like there's a couple up there already, so.
I know I shouldn't even bring it up because it was mortifying for the both of us, but I am seriously sorry about the whole spitting thing.
Yeah, that's usually like a second date kind of thing with me. I'm joking.
Your power is super strength? Yep, I'd accept that.
No, totally.
Himbo.
Yeah, I was thinking about something else, but yeah, thanks. Thank you. Again.
Don't you worry about it.
We're still in the first episode.
How do you know my name?
Oops.
What's going on?
Okay, I'll tell you. But only after you tell me how you ended up with a name like that.
You mean a name like Robert Robertson III?
The third? 3 times this happened?
Yeah.
It was Grandpa Bobby, Then my dad, who I called Dad, but everyone else called Robbie. And then me, Robert. Because I wanted to be taken seriously.
Family tradition.
In more ways than one.
Nice.
Gramps was the first Mecha Man. He died in the suit before I was born. Dad was killed fighting Shroud. That's when I took over. There was a little inheritance and the life insurance money.
I'm so sorry. I didn't realize.
Just your run-of-the-mill, sad superhero origin story. The family tradition, if there is one, is dying in that suit. Which I guess I don't have to worry about anymore. What is it?
I'm not quite drunk enough to share my origin story just yet. But remind me to tell you someday.
Definitely.
Sounds good. Oh.
We can work with this.
No. That didn't feel like a kissing moment.
Sorry, I'm actually here with a purpose. The way I went about things tonight, I'm sorry. It was all a little loose, a little unprofessional.
Unprofessional? I'm not sure that applies to this, but...
I'm actually here on official business.
Although I probably should have leaned into the kiss. That would have been narratively the thing.
In my mouth.
Still mortified about that.
It's fine. Do you remember a superhero named Trackstar?
Remember,
sometimes
of
the tension
course.
is better.
Like
Yeah, I
family.
guess.
That I haven't talked to in a while. But what about him?
I work with him at SDN. He recommended you. Mentioned
Ooh.
that he worked with your father.
Yeah, he was the youngest member of the Brave Brigade, so he was kind of my babysitter for a while. How's he doing?
He's doing great. He's why I'm here. Robert, I would like to make you an offer. In exchange for dispatching and mentoring some of our rookie heroes, SDN can make you Mecha Man again.
This is how we get to the demo.
Resources that a company as big as ours has at their disposal. No more paying out of pocket for repairs. Support staff, the whole shebang.
So this was like some sort of interview?
I was worried that you might be
Crazy?
unstable, damaged, unfit, batshit, dipshit, I don't know, whatever you want to call it.
Just a lot of negatives. I will be real.
It's a big
Not a great interview process.
Considerable time and money to get the suit repaired and the missing pieces replaced. Plenty of time to learn how to dispatch and level up some of the heroes on our roster.
Level up.
Your experience, your work ethic, your perspective, it's all invaluable. Share it, Robert. You have a lot left to give.
Wait, so you want me to sit in an office and dispatch heroes?
That's the idea. But just until we get your suit put back together.
What's dispatching even mean?
Oh, right. I was supposed to test you at the bar. Here.
Whoop. Okay.
Drunk people shouldn't be throwing things at drunk people.
Noted.
Am I waiting or are you waiting? What's going on?
It was supposed to open up when I threw it to you. Okay, there. Pop it on. This is part of the assessment. And don't move too much in there. You're sitting on the edge of the billboard.
Welcome to
Greetings
SD.
and welcome to
Oh,
this
never
training
mind.
simulation. We may be superheroes, but we're nothing without SDN's real hero, the Dispatcher. So, Dispatcher, where do we start?
Okay.
Well, it appears we've got our first call from a subscriber.
Did he just say subscriber? That clearly says subscriber. What the?
I saw some scary, suspicious men last night leaving the old movie theater.
You'll receive requirements to help you determine which heroes to send.
Alright.
Such an array of brave heroes to choose from. How could you possibly pick just one? This graph will show you what a hero does well and not so well.
Alright, so we need combat and vigor.
A hero with a knack for vigor and combat looks right for the job. That sounds like me. Now that at least one hero is being dispatched, it's time to get to work.
So striking is the combat, defending is the vigor. Although, oh, they just want the one.
A
Okay.
wise choice.
I thought they were going to let us pick 2.
I will now return to SDN.
His voice sounds familiar. Like, who is he?
Hero returns to SDN.
Hey.
Some much-needed R&R. That stands for rest
Who?
and relaxation.
You were after the cake. Okay, okay.
Don't forget to review your hero's performance. They won't be sent out again until you do. On SDN's state-of-the-art graph, we can see an analysis of what skills the call required.
Yep, so strike is the combat, defend is the vigor. Cool.
Let's see how well I did after responding to that caller's, call. There's no such thing as a perfect fit. Use your intellect and your roster to your advantage.
Okay, so they wanted still a little bit of intelligence and charisma.
The more that my skills align with the needs of the job, the more likely I am to succeed.
Hi, Goldie. Oh, Sweet Talker is the lizard down here. There we go.
Organized criminals, often led by figurehead supervillains, are the scourge of Southern California.
You're gonna head to bed now. Good luck dispatching. Will do. Thank you, Rabby, for stopping by. I appreciate it. Oop.
We've got a potential villain hideout on the college campus.
Sometimes the solution is brains, not brawn. SDN's diverse array of heroes can solve any problem.
Mobility and intellect. This guy's an all-rounder.
Oh, I see you have a keen mind.
Investigate the potential villain hideout. Decode the mysterious clues. So,
Knowledge is power.
alright. Let's give it a try. Brain book. You doing good, Goldie? Alright, let's see how we did. Yeah, there we go. So it did the bounce on the smaller areas. I wonder... Oop.
The museum is doing an exhibit on local superheroes and need a guest speaker.
Unveil the new superhero exhibit. Incorporate your unique perspective as a superhero. Alright, so probably something to do with charisma. So let's do Sweet Talker over here.
Oh, if these streets could talk.
Looks like we can send in
One of your heroes needs you. As their leader, your heroes will look to you. Make choices and follow where they lead.
Is boring the crowd. We're going to have to improvise. Sprinkle in some jokes. Let's see if that works. Nice.
These choices need the right skill.
So
remember each of your hero's strengths and weaknesses.
All right, so jokes is a charisma, facts is a intelligence, and moves is a mobility thing. Hell
What
yeah.
can I say? A lot, actually.
Oh. High speed chase, monster attack.
The diabolical supervillain El Diablo is attacking Los Angeles General.
Defend and apprehend.
It's one of my arch nemesises, El Diablo. That means the Diablo in Spanish.
He must have been using the convoy ambush as a distraction.
And to attack helpless hospital people. That craven bastard.
Speaking of hospitals, did you know SDN offers a robust benefits package for all full-time employees?
Wow, thank you.
That's phenomenal.
Alright, let's get you sent off. High-speed chase.
I need help getting to my doctor's appointment.
Everything in moderation.
Negotiate with hostage takers.
SDN values work life.
Oh.
Sometimes a hero can use their talents to tip the scales. They are superheroes after all.
Los Angeles General is harassing the good folks at the hospital. What do we do? Rough up and round up the goons. Here we go.
El Diablo's threat has been eliminated. The children are safe and sound.
A convoy of Diablo's goons are harrying the highway patrol.
As if traffic in this city was not bad enough.
Speaking of traffic and going places, does SDN offer paid time off to take vacations?
Of course. PTO accrues at a regular rate over time. Use it however you like, as long as you discuss your schedule with your manager well in advance.
What the fuck is a PTO?
PTO is personal time off, by the by.
There's a giant monster attacking downtown! Save us, SDN!
Natural. Draw the monster's attention to you. Endure the beast attack until... Oh, shit. That's a problem. 3, 2... Yeah, I don't have a lot of vigor options.
Shit, missed that one.
El Diablo's goons are running scared. We're right on the heels of his sidekick, El Diablito.
Pursuit, survive, and defeat.
Oh, God. No. Help us. We're being held hostage. Send help, please.
Civilian.
You can find suggestions on how to handle hostage situations on page 234 of SDN's Guide to Dispatching.
234 pages? Shit. Civilians have been taken hostage. Convince the goons to release the innocent. Force them to surrender. Let's get...
You look lovely today, by the way.
Alright, let's get you going. Alright, let's see. Did I do the right thing? Oh, that's a tough one. Woo! Close one. Alright, so that one is going to take at least 4. What in the world? Shit. That's not good. It's getting scared right on the heels.
Crime doesn't pay.
Pursue, survive.
Unstoppable force? Immovable object? Both.
Yeah, this should do it.
A sound approach.
So Brickhouse and Phenomenon is, like, pretty good. El Diablito? I think it's like the sidekick of El Diablo. There we go.
This outcome is all thanks to you.
Nice.
Our shift is done now. It is time for lunch.
We couldn't have done it without you, dispatcher.
Too true.
So we failed on
To
one.
enhance my break time with some of the snack offerings in our break room vending machines.
Great idea. Thank you again.
This is obviously a
Hope to
simulation.
be seeing a lot more of you. Goodbye for now, and don't forget to be phenomenal.
Did he just say phenomenal? It felt pretty natural to me. And that it's natural for me to end up mid-tier. That said, for a first time, it feels pretty...
Aww.
Did I drool on you?
I don't think so.
Nah.
Well, you see why we thought of... Well, why Trackstar.
I'm imagining that
It makes
that flambe was El Diablo. Because El Diablo definitely sounds like fire powers
Meet
nonsense.
me at the SDN offices tomorrow. I'm not done saving you yet.
Okay, alright. Although, how the fuck does he get down here?
Is there a ladder or...
Dog!
Sorry I'm late.
Can we pet the dog? Middle, left, down. I'll give him some cereal. No.
The folks at SDN are the best in the business, and we're striving to create a safer, stronger city every single
I met a
day.
nice lady.
The folks who live here have to deal with a lot.
She wants to help us out.
Pretty bad for the billboard not to have an access ladder. It's not like the service people just have a crane for it. Maybe it's a design of like LA where it's like they don't have the service ladder to stop vandals and such, so it's like anytime there is needing to be a change, it has to be done with a crane. Wait, that's the first episode? Oh shit, these are relatively quick. We've only been at this for like an hour. Nice. Alright, so 50% of us did throw water at Flambe. Oh, I'm in the minority for not kissing. Okay. 30% of us, you know, let the goon drop. Your fight in the... Your success rate in the fight with Toxic was 88%, putting you in the 60th percentile of players. 34% cut short. You and 0% performed moderately well in the what's-a-mahoozy. Is there a way we could, like, moderately well? Like, is there different levels of, like... Are there different levels? Because I feel like because of, like, the 2 failures, I kind of want... I would definitely be up to trying again. It would have been funny to blow up Flambe with the alcohol. Yeah, but he says he's resistant to fire on his skin and what have you, so I didn't want to, like...
I'm gonna be late for band practice.
Unexpected things happen every day.
Yeah.
Phenomenal, man. Can SDN help me out with this? It's blocking the driveway.
You can count on SDN to help lift the burdens life throws at us.
Nice.
Let SDN be your rock, so you can rock.
SDN is not an insurance company and does not cover damages to property, persons, or animals.
Cool.
She's
Nice little...
definitely not making it to band practice.
Yeah, well, yeah. Wait, what's that?
No, just the commercial. It was weird.
Weird. Yeah, right.
You are tall as fuck, boy.
He's like a rock star. It's, I'm joking, because of the rock.
Hi, kitty.
Cool commercial. I'm a fan, you might say. You could say that.
He seems cool. Phenomenal, even. And quite the salesman.
Oh, yeah. I mean, he could sell snowballs to an Is it not cool to say? Snowman.
Not really.
He could sell snowballs to a snow person. Anyone made of snow. Any color snow. Doesn't have to be white.
Nah, now you're putting focus on it. It's selling ice to an Eskimo.
Yep, that's not right. That is not right. That is yeah.
Okay, let me help you.
Oh no,
with
no, not necessary. I'm sure I.
It's soaked. You nervous? Big job interview.
No, I mean yes, but yes is more. My powers make everything.
I want to know, do you smooch Blonde Blazer? I didn't smooch her. Like, I've gone through too many TV shows. I am very much aware that if I did smooch her, it wouldn't, like, she would have just done that whole lean back thing. And, yeah, I just, you know, I just couldn't do that. I was totally fine with him just having the, like, sort of that, you know, just that, like, loving stare a little bit.
Now that your face is next aside of my face, I see that I know you, of you. You're Mecha Man.
Oh, that's just Rebel
You're
giving me.
dead. I thought.
But yeah, I did moderately well apparently in the tutorial dispatch.
In person.
I failed like 2 of the cases.
I'm sure you'd show up.
Oh, wow! Laser, Blonde, a real hero.
Oh, sorry, but I need him for something. Follow me.
Waterboy over here is just sweating the fuck out. Oh, dispatch. I see the what's mahoozies. I see the shades. Yeah.
Close off.
What?
What's happening right now?
We don't want too many people knowing you're Mecha Man. A lot of our dispatchers are former heroes, but it's better if you keep your identity a secret. We've had incidents in the past. Here.
Shroud, I'm guessing.
I remembered you being bigger. I was a little drunk. Listen, it's gonna be great.
I've never felt silly wearing this.
Until now.
Yeah, I was trying to imply that with this
She
highlight.
sends out a lot of signals.
Get dressed. I have somebody I need you to meet.
Maybe, but...
Oh, sorry. Should I turn around? Or what do you... should I close my eyes, maybe? If that makes you more comfortable.
Well, this might be the fastest HR violation of a new employee in history.
Yeah, I'm just gonna... There.
Oh, she got peek. She's going to peek.
It doesn't look like it, but I am flexing every muscle in my body right now.
Really?
Jesus, he's also...
Okay, well, you didn't have to say it like that.
I want to say again, I'm sorry about last night. I regret the way I conducted myself. It was a mistake. A complicated mistake. I can, go into the details of those complications with you later.
Didn't feel like a mistake. At least not to me.
Well, that makes one of us.
What?
It was a nice night. Nothing more than that.
Yeah, I'd like to keep things professional.
Right, that's why you brought me to this conference room to strip down in front of you. Profesh.
Are you serious?
Who the fuck is this?
Who locks a conference room? So, you two fuck or what?
No professional lines were crossed.
Alright, so just like grinding, clothes on stuff?
Not even that.
See? Knock it off. I just got a little tipsy at our meeting.
A meeting? Is that what it was?
Robert, this is Invisigal. She is part of the Phoenix program. We take former supervillains, such as herself, and rehabilitate them to re-enter society to use their powers for... Are those my earrings?
Well, they look better on me.
Invisigal, this is Robert. He'll be your team's dispatch.
So she will know he's Mecha.
Superhero with no superpowers. Can't wait.
His identity, all of this, that's staying between us. He's still Mecha Man, but that can't get out.
Oh, she...
Does. I'll know who it came from.
You think I want to tell people our dispatcher's a fucking loser?
Having superpowers doesn't automatically make you a superhero. You're born with one, you have to earn the other.
Well, I'm wet.
Yeah.
I see why you like him. Look at that trip. What does that look? Best Buy Fight Club? Fucking hot.
You guys are so bad at keeping a secret.
have a
I can imagine so. I imagine that secret is not going to
She
be...
called herself Invisibitch when she was a villain. We're trying to rebrand her.
Yeah, I thought Invisigal felt kind of corny for her.
Oh yeah? The name was my idea. Just get your shirt on, Dad Bod.
Part of me feels like maybe I should have tried and actually kiss her then.
How can we help you?
We're not...
Yeah, no, it's not a dad bod. Absolutely not.
Great people.
Like, Los Angeles has a very warped sense of what a dad bod is.
One of the 3 copiers on this floor. Fax, scan, does literally everything. Documentation, one of the 3 Ds at SDN. There tends to be a healthy amount of paperwork. I used to call it triple Ds, but I was informed that had a different connotation.
3 Ds?
Dispatching, documentation, diversity is the 3rd. Not in terms of priority, of course. Yep. We're all about diversity. Lana works in the mailroom, from a different galaxy altogether. And then there's Galen, way back there, born with super hearing. He's from, I want to say...
Florida.
Florida, of course. Florida man over there. Hey, easy on the bath salts.
That was one guy.
Hey, speaking of bath, where is the,
Oh, need a bio break?
Excuse me?
Restroom. I mean, it's right over there. Sorry. At work, I tend to get a little...
Corny?
corporate, Dick. Meet me in the records room when you're done. If you get lost, look for the door that says records room.
Ooh. Also, can we, like, tuck in our shirt? I don't know how I feel about him being so, you know, just...
Oh, bruh, I almost went in my pants. Hey, you this Robert people talking about? What's up, brother?
No.
They name me Roy, but people call me Roy.
No, we're not doing that in a bathroom. This is a very private...
Oh, my bad. You think I don't touch my ding-a-ling, because we stay in the lure?
Kinda part of the process.
No need worry, brother. It's okay.
It's just a... Don't converse in the bathroom.
So roid, like steroid?
Huh? Hell no, brother. No, cuz. Listen. Get you other guys here. They go by the name Roy. So I think it's like, you know, we go scrap, we go ground, I boss you up, and then, you know, you got Royd. You know what I'm saying, bro? That's what I think. Hey, you think that's why they call me Roy? Like I'm on steroids? Cause they think I'm some kind of a juice head? They think I'm not natty, bro? They think Roy's not natty.
Look, it's not my business, but I don't think it's a coincidence. Sorry.
Whatever. I don't care.
Yeah, Nokia is probably best.
No idea what that means.
Nice meeting you, Royd, even if it was while we were both holding our dicks.
You one funny bugger. Mecha man.
Do not do that again.
Okay, so I was worried about your unwashed hand, but now I'm worried that everyone here knows who I am.
Nah, brother. It's Kapu. Need to know basis, and Roy need to know. Other one gonna come pick up your soup or fix them for the SDN.
Cool. You gonna wash before you do that?
Nah, bro. I never touch nothing. Just touch my pants and underwear only. Even for shake, I just do like this.
Can you show me again? I don't think I got it.
Okay, so... comedy.
Holy shit. Who's this freckle-faced fuck? How are you?
That's an aggressive way to greet someone.
Look at this skinny latte prick. Your bones, kid. You here to whip these assholes into shape or what?
That's the idea.
I'm sorry, do I know you?
Why are you all tense? What? It's a hug, not a hand job. Lighten up.
Be that as it may.
It's a hug, not a hand job.
Right. Cause I'm old as shit. How about this? This jog your memory?
Trackstar? Holy shit.
Yeah, you
Oh. This is the guy that recommended us to this job in the first episode.
And hey, they call me Chase around here, so keep it, you know.
Sure, right. Yeah, Chase.
It's been what, 10, 15 years?
Has it really been that long?
Yeah, I reached out to this little pissant when his dad passed. Then he got to ducking me like he owed me money.
I was in a weird place.
I understand, kid. It was tough on all of us, so I can't imagine what you went through.
Yeah,
Vengeance.
So what's up?
That's what it was.
Tell me why you look like Black Einstein?
Yeah.
Sorry. I never noticed.
Fucker. It's the powers. I can move 50 times faster than the average person, but I didn't realize until it was too late. And I was aging 50 times faster when I used my powers.
Ah.
Nowadays, I'm moving slower than frozen piss to keep the old ticker from popping on me.
Then how old are you really?
I turned 39 a few months ago, but when the Dave & Buster's shit was lit.
So I guess this means you're the one person I can't complain to about losing my suit.
You better not. I would resurrect and re-kill your fucking father in front of you if it meant being able to use my powers again.
That is tragic that he's like still in his 30s.
Obviously, I'd let Robert have one last I love you before I extinguished the light from his eyes.
Was he always like this?
Yes, actually.
Good gallows humor.
If we suppress our trauma. All right, enough of this feeling shit. Let's introduce you to your team of losers.
All right.
Now, if I'm being honest, I thought and still think we should have canned these tunas months ago.
And you might get your wish, because if we don't see improvement soon, the whole program will be scrapped.
Cool. No pressure.
Sonar here was a Harvard graduate who
will not shut the fuck up about being a Harvard graduate, like all Harvard graduates.
who also orchestrated some of the most effective Silicon Valley investment frauds in U.S. history. Also,
sometimes he transforms into a fucking bat monster that would eat you ass first after he emptied your pension plan.
Ew. Fast psychology fighting, transforms into giant bat, highly intelligent, addicted to a variety of controlled substances, embezzlement, fraud, money laundering. Alright, so intelligence and charisma, and then it gets flipped when he's in bat mode. Yeah.
Flambe, he
Controls the fire and the flame, and his skin does not burn.
Right, you met him. Didn't you ever run in with him years back?
I did. Yeah.
So you know he's a certifiable dickhead.
Designed his own suit. Nice. Arson, assault, and vandalism. Yep, you dick.
Invisigal, who you met. Turned herself in a few months ago and entered the program on the condition we didn't ask questions.
That's a little suspicious, no?
Suspicious? Really? Of a criminal that turns invisible and doesn't like to answer questions? What tipped you off, Sherlock?
Actually, so... Okay, so we don't get, like, previous names. Oh, she was invisible previously. Okay.
Here we have coupe, which I recently learned is a French ballet term that means to cut, hence the knives.
That's very clever.
Yeah, but it sounds dumb to say, so everybody calls her Coop. She was an assassin for the mob, then went independent. Punch Up.
Carnival strongman who made a deal with a sorceress. She gave him the strength of 10 men. His muscles grew, but his body shrunk.
He's got all the charm and brains of a greasy...
Yeah, we don't have no sweet talker yet. So this is strength of 10 and half the height of 1. Battery, parole violation. So he's flyweight, brawler. Good vigor, good strength. Weirdly charismatic, okay.
Malevola, terrifying.
Oh!
Sword, and she creates portals that allow her to teleport.
Somehow she's still late for every fucking meeting.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure she does that on purpose.
Nice. Prehensile title, Sonar's NA sponsor. Sonar's what sponsor? NA? Which one was Sonar? Oh, okay, so she is Sonar's narcotics, like, anonymous sponsor.
That's Golem. He is a construct.
A construct?
Yeah. A bunch of dirt and mud made sentient with magic. I think he's lonely.
Good vigor, good combat.
Prism. Michigan born and raised. The power is weird. She weaponizes light rays or some shit. A lot of this stuff is a guess.
Why does she dress like a pop star?
She's actually super talented.
1.3 million followers, music snob. Highly dramatic. Nice, okay, okay. Good charisma, good... Weirdly good combat.
Wait, so, the Z team, my team, their Phoenix program?
That is correct.
Your own motley crew of dangerous fuck-ups.
We're not looking
The
for
Demoness is an atheist. Oh yeah, I saw that. I didn't comment on it because, like, I don't know. Demon, like, I'm not gonna question her religious options.
You want one? Here.
Fuck off.
She probably knows more than I do.
This is you. Pretty sparse, but feel free to decorate.
Login r.robertson. Cool.
This computer's older than you look.
Oh my gosh. I do like the keyboard and like
doing this?
I don't know the off yellow. I like. I don't know.
First of all, that wasn't
Old tech just has some personality.
Like to start slow. Most people don't.
Demon Girl just makes you think of magic, but actually a demon.
For everybody's safety.
Yeah.
What do you mean safety?
You'll be fine. And this here is our little slice of the Southland. Whenever there's a crisis in the area, we get a call, and guess who answers?
Me.
Us.
Exactly. Now put your headset on and introduce yourself to these pricks.
All right.
Hey team, this is your dispatcher, Robert Robertson. I'm starting my first shift.
God damn it.
Tell me that's not your real first
Standing,
name.
bitch! You can't be this shook on your first day, come on!
Robertson.
Can we clear the channel, please? There's a lot of overlapping on this.
I saw him in his underwear.
Who? Roberto's son?
I saw him in his underwear.
He packing much?
No, but he's got a lot of bruises, which I'm into.
Again, please clear the channel.
Invisigal, what?
Shut the fuck up. Let me remind you, these calls are fucking recorded for training fucking purposes. So keep the fucking line.
Okay, so you need more experience.
Back to whatever fucking cell we pulled your stupid fucking ass
nice.
out of. Alright?
Nice.
My son's balloon is stuck in a tree. Can you send someone?
Climb a 40-foot tall tree to retrieve it. Don't make the child cry. Alright, so something with movement. Let's go with Invisigal.
On it.
Mobility.
I know a shortcut for this guy's backyard.
Mr. Vanderstank is requesting a hero for a very important event.
Who's this Vanderstink guy?
Willem Vanderstink. Certified genius. Literally, he has a certificate.
You aren't a genius if you need a piece of paper that says you're a genius.
You're just jealous. This guy rules.
Oh, do I want to send Sonar? High profile ribbon cutting. Send someone that will make look good. So let's go with...
I'm busy, but okay.
Busy doing fucking what, Prism?
I'll take Wednesday.
Tuesday.
Dibs on Monday.
What are you guys talking about?
Where are they? Cookie for Night Sky, by the by.
Friday?
Today's Friday.
I know.
Oh, shit. Yeah!
Alright, fine.
Me again,
Good.
Galen. Blazin told me to show you the ropes, so here we are.
Hey, hero ranked up. Good job. Go check that.
Alright, okay.
Every rank up earns skill points.
Okay.
Use them for increasing stats.
Let's give her a little more combat.
Use the plus icon next to a stat.
Yep. Let's actually give... Alright. Cool. Close that. Huh?
Oh my god! My bidet spraying shit everywhere!
Alright, time to hack into shit. I was worried I had to send a hero into that, but good thing we didn't need to.
Still got it. Let's see if I can do this.
Cool. Cool. Be a little bit faster. And in you go. Oh, is the fishing not working? Fish. There we go. Alright, bidet is fixed. Alright, how'd you do? Nice.
What's this guy even famous for? Seemed like a loser to me.
Laugh all you want.
Nice work, you got a singing fish.
Conscious will live on in a chip. In your subconscious, we'll be dead. Cringe.
Alright, Trick with the prism. She's got some pretty good combat. Don't have much on her. Assault, DUI, tax evasion. So I've already got Invisigal, like, improving over into this quadrant. So I'm gonna have Prism going into this quadrant here. So we want to improve intelligence and mobility, I think. Let's go with intelligence. Give her a little more, like, broadening there. Retrieve a stolen boat.
Progress at the yacht club.
Pursue, return the boat in one piece. Alright. Let's get Coop on there.
I've taken up sewing. I like the various types of fabric and stabbing things with needles.
Get these idiots out of my bar before they destroy it. And don't send the flaming asshole.
Two heroes are fighting each other.
Mecha Man. And he kicked Flambe's ass. Okay. That little shit did not kick my ass. He did, though.
Yeah, I think I heard about that.
No, you didn't. Because it didn't happen, Bob. So we're all going to shut up about it. Yeah?
Oh, we can't send him because... let's send...
On it.
So yeah, we'll send the two of you, because... Combat, vigor, charisma can do the diplomatically nonsense.
So what was your read on this Mecha Man guy?
Washed up, drinking alone. A robot guy without his robot, I guess.
That's Jacksepticeye! Okay, so he's Punch Up. I thought it was going to be something else.
You got your ass kicked by just a guy.
All of you. Shut the fuck up.
They're fighting over the name Fight Man. Let's try giving him new names. Let's suggest some... Oh, Prism could have helped here. Suggest some... Let's suggest some badass. Let's see. Charisma. Yeah!
Looks like you win the title of Fight Man.
Nice. Alright, so Punch Up has some skill points we can be putting into. I could do like a weird triangle thing. Let's get his combat improved. And then you're an all-rounder? Hang on. So you're doing high on intelligence, but you'll get flipped. You're shit at intelligence. You're moving over into the right. You're doing a bit more into the right as well. You're pushing off to the left. You can push into the bottom right. You can push into the bottom left. So I'm gonna have you pushing off into the left. Let's get your intelligence improving, because I'll have you push into the top left. All right.
Flambe, you're off route.
Where the fuck are you going? Oh, I just gave you free fishing? Oh, well. Lucky you, I suppose. Alright, pursue, return it. Oh, okay.
Mission accomplished.
Oh, that was luck. Alright. Let's get you a little bit of vigor. Let's move you off into the right. Why the fuck are you in this?
Jenny the Bone Zone Diaz here. Today's topic is all about SDN hiring criminals to protect us.
Let's send in Sonar.
Said I got arrested for tax evasion. I wish.
Alright, and then we got a Blaze in the Burbs.
Hey, someone's robbing the museum. I don't know what you do, man. I just started...
Security is being taken over by robbers. Avoid motion sensors. Visigal and... You know what? Let's see. Who would be... Because I'm sending Flambe back to the fucking fire over there. It's being taken over by robbers. So you... Because of your invisibility, you're going to be of help. And you can do illusion, so...
Going now.
And then...
Fire at a local park has gotten out of control.
Did you start that fire?
No.
The fire that's burning 2 blocks from where you're standing. You didn't start that.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know what you're talking about. I'm on break, so how could I know?
Flambe, stop fucking around. I've got enough problems without you making new ones.
Whatever, man.
Alright. Cookie for bestest boy! Here's your cookie, bestest boy. How should we get around the sensors? Alright, I'm gonna hack into them. Give me a second. Hopefully... I think this one is a time attack one as well, so I'm gonna have to focus. There we go. Alright, halfway there. Gotcha.
Piece of cake. All sensors are back up, team.
Nice work. Alright, how did you do? Educate and prove. Hell yeah.
Today, Torrance. Tomorrow, also Torrance, probably. Like, statistically speaking. Half man, half bat, all freak.
Oh, good for you. This fire is at it. How should we stop? Clean up your fucking mess.
Bombay, clean up your fucking mess. You're lucky no one was hurt.
Blade, what the fuck? Serious? God damn it, Flambe.
We've encountered these thieves before.
Compile and cross-reference past cases of this art crime. Track down members to their hideout. Alright. You are not going to be useful at all. You're going to be of help.
Ugh, yeah, fine.
So the previous call, we used Invisigal. So... I feel...
Going!
Okay!
Oh, they're gonna piss their pants when they see me coming.
Alright, let's see how we go. Nice.
Nice.
So, okay, so compile is the intelligence thing, and then the tracking is thing. Okay.
Hey,
I thought
Bobby. Here, William Vanderstink needs a security detail. Is it cool if I go? I've been wanting to pitch him some stuff I've been working on.
Yeah, pretty sure that's exactly what he's trying to avoid.
For some situations, you can only choose one solution. Send literally anyone else. Send sonar security.
We're going to need you to protect Mr. Vanderstank from the Vanderstanker fan club.
Try navigating between the calls.
I'm a high-ranking Vanderstanker. It would mean a lot.
Sonar will gain 200 experience. Also, you're not exactly really intelligent right now. Stop the CEO's adoring so the entire team will receive. So stop the CEO's adoring fans from bothering him and look good while doing it. So. Alright, here we go. Hopefully, please don't fail on me.
I can't do it. I need you in the field. Sorry.
That's like a real bummer, man.
Evacuate the homes, rescue anyone trapped. Yep, and then... let's get...
You look, different.
You mean better?
On a call with greater than 2 slots, certain slots may grant +2 to a stat and -1 to others when Golem is assigned. Ah! Who does a little intelligence thing? Cool.
I'll handle this shit like I handle all my shits. Upside down.
That little shit, I want him behind. Oh, damn it! Fuck it. Let's send you.
Doing it.
Alright, how do we do here? Oh, no! No! Serious?
You saw nothing. All right, I'll snitch. Just cut me a deal, okay?
Hideout is well guarded, stealth, and... yep, you two.
Fine, I'm going.
Because previously it was you... oh, actually, hang on.
Oh, yes, sir.
How long was the last dispatcher here?
2 days. New record.
How the fuck did that happen?
I set the scar on fire.
There's trapped inside their home. We need to rescue them. Stop, drop, and roll over the fire. Yes! Good going, Golem. Got some. So we got a skill point. Diamond Rough. On a call with greater than 2 certain slots may grant +2 to a stat and -1 to others when Golem is assigned. Cool. Alright. So Yeah, let's increase mobility.
Time to freak some fuckers out.
Alright, so you're now in normal form. Ah, darn it. Sonar was the one that needed to do, like, the thingy.
Just, you know, give him a pep talk.
Alright, let's see how he did. Awesome.
Hey, showing him how we do it big top style.
Good for you. Oop. Capture the thieves. Let's see how we go here. Please be combat, please be combat. Damn it! Okay, cool, so...
My tail's wagging, I swear.
Nice. Alright, so you got some points we can spend. Why do you have, like, two thingamajig? Oh, so... okay. Give you a little bit of mobility. Granny's Donuts?
Grannies, I got this.
Hold up, aren't you banned?
Yeah, and I gotta get unbanned.
Alright.
Just so you know, I'm not going for you. I'm going because I have to. Can I get ice down here, please?
What does that mean?
She's asking for a tap-in. We got access to security cams of SDN subscribers all over our territory.
Wow.
Okay.
Really?
Question for you.
Don't ask questions.
Why did you promote dispatch at the urinal on Blue Sky? Because that was the banner that they had, and I was like, let's go with that. Because that's the one that's all shown.
I didn't do this.
Right, I feel like you've said that a lot in your life. What happened?
This is how I found the place. The old guy, who I assume is Granny, was laying here when I walked in. Hey, what's your favorite donut?
Look, can you just focus? What, you got ADHD or something?
Yes, fucker. Is it that obvious?
Yes, fucker, it is.
Well, then answer the question. I don't want to sit here and fixate on it when we're supposed to be doing whatever, superhero shit.
Jelly filled.
A jelly donut, okay? I mean, I will eat anything if you pack enough jelly in it.
So you're into squirters. You like that gush in your throat? Cool. Okay, say less, though.
Yep, you got me. I love gobbling on hot, sloppy donuts. Love them from my mouth to my butt. How's it going? First day. Thanks for asking me that, so you could get all your funny jokes out. Now, can we maybe address the body in the room? What are you doing? You gonna poke it with a stick?
Check his pulse.
Granny's alive. Thank Christ. I didn't want to have to lip this guy. So, can I go now?
No, we need to figure shit out.
Let's figure out the purpose still there.
Perp, B&E.
Okay, Lieutenant. Fuck, I can't think of a character from a cop show.
Cool. Well, why don't you stay put and work on that while I get another camera up online?
She's my least favorite. The worst of the lot.
That surprises me. You guys got similar energy. How do I switch cameras?
Just click the side here and you can cycle all the cameras in the building.
It's weird getting tech advice from an old person.
Bro, I'm not even 40 yet.
Weird hearing bro from an old person.
Dan. Lieutenant Dan? Is that a thing?
Yes, I am the legless Vietnam vet from Forrest Gump. Sick burn. Am I doing something wrong? Pushing that button just says access denied.
Ah, damn it. Sometimes people add extra security. They don't understand it just makes it harder for us to do our job.
Hey, what's taking so long? Are you sleeping or something, or are you just bad at your job?
Let's go with bad with my job. Security process. AC. Oh, alright. Ding dong dun 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 dun.
Why does a donut shop even need extra security?
There's more going on at this donut shop than normal.
Ugh.
Has an unknown code, find the key. Okay. Thankfully, I'm not on the clock.
This node represents a code to use later. Remember it.
Up, down, left, left. Okay. Up, down, left, left. Please don't be extra long. Alright, back in. If it's ever longer than 4 characters, you're going to need to help me with that, chat.
Who are you, Lieutenant Dan?
Hey, shut up for a sec. You're not alone.
Energy blast.
He's coming your way, armed. You need to disappear.
Why are you whispering, you idiot? You're in my ear.
No!
Okay. I think you just want to shrouds, guys. No, don't take the... Alright, fine.
God damn it. This bitch is a gusher.
Be careful.
I got this, Lieutenant Dan. Never mind.
Good punch.
Got any more great advice?
Duck. Good thing I said duck, because she's got, like, the jelly on her.
Shit.
Can she call for backup at this point?
Invisible bitch! Invisigal, just hold him off while I find a way to help.
Scanning auxiliary systems. Nice.
I can use the overhead sprinklers to short out his blaster.
Alright.
Come on.
Dun, dun.
Got it.
Damn it. So it is a key thing. Up, down. Alright. Up, down, left, up. Up, down, left, up. Up, down, left, up. Up, down, left, up. There we go. Thank you, kitty. I was just repeating it to myself.
Fuck.
Uh-oh. What's with the dust?
Granny, I don't think you know how to use that thing, so why don't you—
Shut the fuck up!
Oh, I'm one of the good guys.
You? Yeah, right. Don't fuck with me, okay? Nobody fucks Granny! Nobody fucks with Granny!
Invisigal, stay calm.
Great fucking advice, Lieutenant Dan.
Stop calling me Lieutenant Dan, because the joke doesn't work and you sound dumb.
Granny doesn't even know how to shoot that thing. Take out the thief first. He's the only one with his finger on the trigger.
You know what? It's my life on the line.
I'm done listening to you. That thing's gonna blow that man's
Arm off and this whole building with me in it. Fuck off. I'm disarming the device.
No, Invisigal, that's a direct order.
Fuck.
God damn it, Invisigal.
Oh, fuck. Fuck! Invisigal, you there? Invisigal!
Alright. His ass is showing, I'm guessing.
Granny's clearly a fan of his own work. Oh, really wasn't expecting to see that. He's kind of caked up. So where's the prep, Lieutenant?
I think he must have had something else to do, because he left.
I mean, this is why you have insurance, right?
Jesus Christ, you gotta be fucking kidding me.
This feels like a win to me.
That was pretty good for first day. Sometimes people, you know, get electrical burns.
She disobeyed a direct order.
Well, that's the problem. This isn't the army and these ain't soldiers. They're fucking supervillains.
Ugh. Oh, and they even like blank out the.
We can debrief with Blazer in a bit. Here, this vending machine.
See, I'm fine. I'm fine with middle finger and such. I just didn't want a penis shown.
80 years old.
All right. 13 calls, 1 failure, no miss, 2 failures, no misses. All right. Take a hero out of resting, so that's by using a second wind. And a random point applied to... Nice. Choose a hero to receive the vigor upgrade. Let's give it to you. Censor, like, I'm fine, like, some censorship is okay. Ah, god damn you. What the fuck was that?
Hey.
Ah, shit.
What kind of superhero flinches? I didn't say which superhero. Chill out.
If you had people trying to kill you for the last 15 years, you'd be jumpy too.
What makes you think my life has been any different? You think growing up surrounded by a bunch of shitbag villains, I didn't need to watch my back?
I can't just disappear, okay? I actually have to face my problems.
What the fuck?
You can't just go around. Ow! Why does he keep screaming?
His name's Sonar.
Yeah, I know what sonar means.
What's up?
Then why are you asking why he keeps screaming?
She was just explaining your, you know what? Never mind. Good shift.
This guy is weird.
Yeah, he is. Look, I actually just came by to celebrate the mission going well.
The mission didn't go well!
A little snack. What do you need to pre-chew like a little baby bird, bitch?
I told Chase what happened. That you disobeyed a direct order.
Tattled on me?
Tattled? Are you 5? I told him the truth.
You fucking snitched. That's what that is.
You trashed the place. The suspect got away. You got the client hurt. You think when that guy signed up for SD and that it'd result in the back of his ball sack getting scorched? Because they don't mention that in the commercials.
First of all, the place was trashed when I got there. Second, I'm sure Granny would take some crispy nuts over losing his arm. As far as the bad guy, fuck, shit happens.
Fact of the matter is that shit didn't need to happen. We could have had an outcome where the client doesn't get fried and we get the perp if you had just fucking listened to me. You ask for help, then I can... What now? I make the calls, not you.
Here's some advice. You're right at home behind that desk because you're no hero. You were a nerd playing a video game in a suit your daddy built. Now you're a twitchy little bitch turtle without its shell. A real hero puts their ass on the line. A real hero can't just press a button and make their problems disappear.
The suit isn't what made me a superhero. It was how I did my fucking job that made me Mecha Man. Based on what I saw today, you wouldn't last a day as Mecha Man. Because there isn't a mech suit in the universe that'll keep you from being a selfish fucking asshole.
Oh, I thought she was gonna smack us in the back of the head.
Ah! Feel bad. Good. Fuck you.
Okay, there. Yeah.
You gonna eat those Twinks?
That's not what... You know what?
This is in the trailer as well. Like this is in the trailer, and like I knew he was gonna say that. It's still funny to hear.
You have a tissue hanging from your nose, Robert. I was trying to ignore it, but that became impossible when it started soaking in blood.
I get nosebleeds when it's this dry. The air in the office, it's on the dry side.
Is it on the dry side? I'll have facilities look into it. All right, boys. We're here to assess Robert's first shift, and aside from whatever happened here, I thought it was pretty good.
What?
Told you, Robbie.
I was watching on the monitor. The work you did dispatching. I don't think the Z team has ever had a better shift than that.
We just might need to confront the fact that it might be the best they can do. Especially the way the Granny thing went.
Yeah, now the Granny situation, that wasn't ideal. but I've seen so much worse with Invisigal.
Let's be real. She ain't gonna make it.
She's difficult to work with, sure, but I see a lot of promise in her. Really. Even the other Z-teamers respect her.
They're afraid of her.
She disobeyed a direct order.
That's kind of her thing. It's why we're so hopeful you can help her.
And I'm happy to do it, but, you know...
Look, Robert, you should be proud. The bar is very low with this group.
Well, it's not low for me. Look, I like to make a joke and keep things light as much as the next person. But when it comes to work, I'm not fucking around here. If you want the Phoenix program to survive, the bar needs to go up.
And how would we do that?
By treating the Z team like what they are, a bunch of villains. And leading a supervillain team takes a different approach than a superhero team. I need to be around them. I need them to see I'm all in, and they need to match that energy.
Some tough love.
The only kind I know. And based on what I've seen, the only version they'll respond to. I'm not saying everyone will make it. They won't. I'm not saying it won't get spicy. It will. But when it does, I also need you to trust me to handle it. I don't want you stepping in. They need to respect me, even if I don't have powers.
Okay.
There's something about the music in the background.
Monday, we'll get them in a room and introduce them to their new supervillain leader.
I can't promise it'll work. I can only promise that I'll do my best.
No fucking way it's gonna work, but it'll be way more fun to watch.
I'm guessing this is the end of the episode.
Optimism, please.
God damn it. Yeah, I also promise to do my best.
Hey, kid.
What?
What are you doing?
Yeah, no, I did this. It's weird, because, yeah, I saw this lady, smiling lady, person put a donut on your desk earlier, previously, and it was nicely on a napkin, but then she comes back and she just gets crazy, like the evil mode, and smashed the same donut.
What a mess.
We'll clean it.
What? No.
No.
Yeah, she brought us a jam filled.
Yeah, I'm SDN's newest, he
Hero?
helpful janitor. Helpful janitor.
Okay.
Okay. Cool.
So yeah, it was nice that she still gave us the donut. She does need, like...
Which you help.
I wonder if she's gonna have an arc. We're gonna figure out why she's here.
Happy to help.
It's Friday. I'm not gonna ask. You headed out?
Oh, yeah, great.
But yeah, I reckon either in the next episode or the episode after, we'll figure out why she's here. Because she's one of the few where it's like, she... Ugh.
I want you to know us
Her
fixing
thighs are insane? I wasn't properly paying attention.
I wouldn't do that to you.
That's good to know.
I'm a boobies man, personally.
Really glad you're here, Robert. I think we're going to do some great things together.
Hey, so do you want to grab dinner or something? It's dinner time, so I assume that maybe, you know.
Actually, there's something I've been meaning to tell you. It's a little awkward to mention, but since the other night,
Blonde blazer. Are you ready to go?
Oh.
I thought I'd cataloged all of your work companions.
Robert, this is my boyfriend, Phenomenon. This is our new dispatcher I was telling you about. Robert?
The third Robert Robertson, leader of the Phoenixes. Blonde Blazer told me about you.
Really? Oh. Did she, say, I don't know, what came up in that talk?
She said you're a capable, honorable man that truly cares for others. Why are you so small?
Hey, come on. You gotta stop asking people that.
The way you
Why are you so small?
Impressive. I only seek to understand. I apologize. How was his first day? Was his lack of size and strength an issue?
No, he was great. It was great. It was a great first day.
That is phenomenal. We should celebrate. Blonde Blazer and I have reservations in Tokyo at a restaurant where the owner dreams of sushi. You should join us. I'm sure they could accommodate one more, especially a special occasion like this.
Actually, I gotta get home to my dog. He's very needy.
Oh, of course. And to be responsible for another life is a beautiful thing, even if that life is a dog life.
Yeah, right.
Damn it.
He flies a little faster.
It was
Okay.
very nice to meet you.
Is a joke he's what if Superman is actually alien? I feel like
The power of my launch has been known to stun small beings. Phenomenal.
And that's the end of the episode, isn't it? Yep. It definitely felt like an end of the episode. But yeah, I reckon he is definitely like set up as a, like, you know, sort of just fish out of water from this earth and such like that. Cause so much of this does make me think of the, like, inspired by existing IP and what have you from like DC and Marvel. Probably more the Marvel than the DC because of the whole, like, you know, getting like showing the super in humans rather than like the human in supers. Yeah, no, I have a thing about, like, if we're in the bathroom together, I am not saying shit. We're not talking. We're not having a conversation. I'm in the bathroom to do business. You're in the bathroom to do business. 72% covered from Lizzo. Yeah, cool. For jelly-filled donuts. 34% attempted to ask Blazer out. Said no to dinner. Yeah. 49% didn't let Sonar. Oh, man! The fight meant duelist and brawler. Nice. Your most sent hero was Prism. Hey, nice! Success in the 50th percentile. Okay, okay. Alright, so there's 8 episodes. Alright. I wonder if there would have been, like, an... Okay, so we can... Yeah, so we can change, like... So I can go to, like, another save slot if I wanted to. Alright, so it looks like the episodes are released every... It looks like every Wednesday, so October 29th... 9th, oh, is it 2 episodes? Yep. So episode 3 is on the 29th, 29th. And then November 5th. Another November 5th, November 12th, November 12th. Okay. Hi there, Leather Pet. Welcome, welcome. We just got done with the, we just got done with Dispatch. So it looks like we could... It's very tempting making it like a Thursday night thingy-majiggy or something like that, considering, yeah. Oh. The company provides personal leave for compelling, urgent reasons. Employees having any questions regarding this policy should contact HR. SDN is committed to providing a safe, violence-free workplace. SDN prohibits employees, clients, or anyone engaging in an SDN related activity from behaving in a violent or threatening manner. Your employment with the SDN is on an at-will basis. This means your employment may be terminated at any time with or without notice and with or without cause. Without cause? Jesus Christ. Okay, in Australia, normally if you're a full-time worker, like, after you get through probation period, you are normally given 2 weeks of, like, you know, like, if you're being fired, you have to be fired with cause. Episode 4. Employees should be aware that if they enter into a personal relationship with a subordinate employee, a conflict of interest may exist, which requires full disclosure to the company. Okay. It is the intent of the company to maintain a workplace that is free of drugs and alcohol and to discourage drugs and alcohol abuse by its employees. Employees are expected to use good judgment and avoid situations that create an actual or potential conflict between their personal interests and interests of SDN. If an accident or injury should occur on the job, it is extremely important for you to notify your manager or HR promptly, no matter how minor the incident may seem. SDN understands that channels of communication should always be kept open and flexible. The open door policy provides a means by which employees can raise concerns and make suggestions. Cool, cool. Oh, that's kind of cool. They need a cause to fire you? So in Australia, if you're a full-time employee, like I'm in this position of a full-time employee, for context, it might be different. Like I've not heard of someone quote unquote at will. Like I think with like casual staff, if they can just choose, like they can like fire you, but normally they need to fire you with cause, where it's like, performance violation or something or other. Often in the United States, they can fire you for no reason. Wait, for a reason? They can fire you for a reason? Yeah. For any reason. Oh, okay. For us, like, there has to be a reason. Like, in Australia, there has to be a reason. I'm not too sure how vague the reason has to be, but normally, like, it has to be one of those things of, like, they call out behavior and what have you. Yeah. I am most definitely probably going to play these episodes again on, like, a different save slot to see if I can, actually get, like, a different result in terms of, like, the dispatcher stuff here and there. Make sure you want to exit the game? Yeah. As it turns out, most places in the world understand employment is a lifeline for a lot of people and a lot of families, plus managers are finicky things, so you need a meaningful reason to fire. Yeah. New Zealand is a lot safer in terms of, like, different countries have different sort of, things as well. Because here's the thing as well, is that in Australia, we have what's called a probationary period. So, for instance, 6 months, it was my probationary period. In that 6 months, if there was like something minor, like, personality fit, or, I fucked up on like one small task or something like that, I could be fired, and there would be no like lead up. It would just quite simply be a case of, look, you failed your probation, you fucked up here. I wouldn't have been given 2 weeks or anything like that. It would just be on the spot, bam, done. So, yeah. I'm kind of curious what achievements are there in this game. Achieve a perfect dispatch with only one hero. Fail a call with plus 70% of success. Complete a Z-team shift without missing or failing a call. Complete a hacking level with 5 seconds left. Max out a hero. Discover every hero's starting power. Collect all achievements. Succeeded on all hacking levels. Healed the same hero twice in a shift. Aced your performance review. Covered the entire graph on a single call. Reached bonus and avoided fail states on all calls in a shift. Succeeded a call with less than 15% of success. I am definitely going to be trying that. Upgrade a stat to level 10. Reach maximum synergy with a hero duo. Expand powers for 4 different heroes. Destroy 3 antiviruses in less than 15 seconds. Okay, so they got a few. Let's see. Alright. This was a very short stream, I will be real with you, but I'm fine with a short stream, honestly. I'm fine with short streams. To be honest, you could still be fired for any reason, even in countries without an at will. A friend got fired because the manager wanted to fire them so they could give him all kinds of bullshit tasks they were meant to fail, so it would look official on paper. Yeah, there's those as well. Different countries and what have you will have, the stuff they need to work on and what have you. So blah, 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 blah. Well, I would most certainly be playing more of this one. Oh, that's AI art. Never mind. But yeah, that's gonna be it for me. That was a very short and sweet stream. I'm gonna be real with you. Like, that was like what? Okay, technically a little over 2 hours, but I didn't get started with the game until after 6 o'clock. So it took, it took about 2 hours to go through 2 episodes. And it looks like it will give us new episodes on like a weekly basis, so it's a short one, yeah. I'll be real with you, it's very tempting to like make it a Thursday thing, because I know it says it releases on the Wednesdays, but it's releasing on the Wednesdays in the American time zone, not the Australian time zone, which is where I am. I'm 10 hours ahead of Americans. I am in the future for a lot of the people that watch me. Ooh. You shall not invest into gold because everyone is assessing it too highly. Wait for the pullout. Ooh. Global warming is still a thing. Ooh, you're in the EU? I'm in the future by only 10 hours instead of, however many hours that, the Americans get. Ooh. The sun will set in your country again. Ooh. Yeah. But yeah, that was so yeah. I need to have a think of like if I want to keep it as like short streams on the Thursday nights, so it's like, something quick and easy to do, or if I want to wait 2 weeks, so then that way we get 4 episodes to do in one what's-a-mahoozy. Tempting. I don't know. I'll need to figure that out, cuz maybe keep it. The future is a pain. Yes, the future is. I found the idea of investing in gold and not fleeing to a poorer country ridiculous. Here's the reason why everyone's investing into gold right now, or I say everyone, but really it's only people with money and such like that, is it's coming with the time of uncertainty. Like, because everywhere around the world is having uncertainty. It's not just happening in the States. In Australia, that we've got people investing into gold recently, and the reason why is because people are just uncertain as to like where our money is going to go and what have you. So with Australians, they will invest in goods. Like they're not like an advanced economy where it's like, oh, we invest in some weird like speculative like investment of technology that will like grow and enhance livelihood and such. It's like, no, Australians will invest in things that are like, oh, there's an explicit value and then there's an assessment on whether that value will grow. So homes are, for instance, like the obvious answer for Australians, and I'm kind of annoyed with that because it means that because of like the very everyone goes into home ownership as an investment first and rather than like a living thing first, it means that price just goes up crazily and what have you. Don't know if this is purely an Australian. It's not purely an Australian thing, but there is like in the Australian side, it is an Australian thing. Because I know Canada was having housing problems and what have you, and like apparently our economies are like relatively similar. But I'm not an economist. I am probably like the least trustworthy person to ask about economy nonsense. Like, look at me. Fucking look at me. I'm a zebra on the internet with literally himbos stamped across my shirt. I know fucking nothing about finances. If I knew how to do finances, I wouldn't be streaming and then once in a while being like, hey, check out my throne. Or, hey, I have a coffee. And, scrounging scraps for, monies and what have you. You sounded so confident. That's the autism. There's just this level of like you just need someone. You just need an economist in this chat. You just need one person who knows what they're talking about to be like, actually, maybe he works in business or economics. No, I just have a tism, and it's one of the like I have that like computer tism and that popular media tism. I don't have one of those cool autism like interests where it's like yes, something really important like finances or engineering. It's really dull nonsense where it's like I can probably tell you like the evolution of a meme and what have you and get like deep into it. There's a difference. Someone who sounds confident, someone who knows what they're talking about. Yep. There's way. Izzy has definitely been in this chat when I have spouted confidence and she was just like, she's listening to me and she's just like, this motherfucker doesn't know anything about art. Shut the fuck up. Literally like a couple days ago or a couple weeks ago, I was like in a stream with Blue Foxy Nicey Icy. You should check out Blue Foxy Nicey Icy, by the by. Hang on. Blue Foxy, I see. You should go check out Blue Foxy and Icy. They recently got themselves like a little trackpad, or not a trackpad. They got themselves a drawing tablet. It doesn't have a screen on it or anything like that. And they're doing art and such. And so they're, getting into the feel of things, and they're asking questions of like, what's a good pen to use when drawing a sketch, or what's a canvas size? Very technical questions. So I am absolute shit at art. I'm not really great at it. I've done like a little bit of like, 3D nonsense. Like I've done silly 3D stuff. This guy thinks learning how to use Blender is the same thing as learning how to be better at art. Yeah, that. I feel like there was like, they're both creative. I'm about to defend myself to an artist despite not having the skills. Here we go. So what I was getting at when I was talking with Blue about like, it would be nice if there was like something like the donut tutorial like they have for Blender, is that in like digital, like with digital art and what have you, like especially like with drawing tablets and such, it would be nice, rather than, because like telling someone, just start drawing is like, that's good advice, but that's sort of in the same sort of realm as in like, like how do I start writing a novel? And the answer being just start writing. Like, yeah, cool, but like it's not enough, and I'm not a teacher or anything like that. I cannot like, I wouldn't be able to explain, learning how to use a car doesn't improve your character as a, yeah. So it was just one of those things of like the donut tutorial in Blender, yes, was a very technical tutorial of like, here's how you get like, but it was broken up in a fashion where it's like, how like, it was just this way of like, it broke the, like it just broke down the like, rather than telling someone like, here's how you create like your little cafe render or something like that. It was like, okay, let's, start with the basics and such. And the reason why it was a donut was because like the person that was like the Blender enthusiast and what have you was like, by going through these like tutorials, it's like we get you started with the basic, which is like, you understand how to do, how to do the how the overlay works, how to do modeling, you know how to do the sculpting, you then know how to do textures, you then know how to do renders. And like it's just it's breaking down the bigger question into smaller tasks was what it was. That's what I found the Blender donut tutorial was doing a lot of the time, was that it helped break down bigger questions into smaller ones. So, and that's why I was like, it would be nice if there was like something similar to that. So rather than having like a, for example, how do I draw an anime protagonist? It's like, you can't break down which brush should I use. That's not a technical question. I guess. So, I don't know. It's just, it would be nice to have something to point to. So. Because there definitely be, like, wrong answers. What did I miss in chat while trying to defend myself poorly? I was trying to defend myself poorly. Chat, this guy thinks learning how to use... Yeah, okay, I read that. I heard similar things before, is that gold is very safe, that it stays relatively valuable even through uncertain times. No, so it stays valuable during uncertain times, but the problem is that it also increases in value during uncertainty. And because of that, some people think that gold is being over-evaluated because of, like, the uncertainty in the market. Like, it's gone up, like, quite a bit. So the problem is that, we go through the speculation and such, and there's a concern of like, oh, it's going to correct itself to like the actual value, but because everyone is buying at like sort of the height of a bump and such, it's going to like when it corrects itself to a better, like to a more accurate value and such, is going to be people losing out on money. It's just one of those cases of people they want to buy when it's low and sell when it's high and such. And it's like people are buying at a point where there's like, oh, it's already fairly high because, you know, it's gold, it's expensive. So, yeah. If learning technical skills meant being a better technician, drivers wouldn't be so shit most of the time. Doesn't improve your character as a person. Attacking him. Which brand pencil should I be using? Yeah. Yeah, no, you're right. Need to go to bed. Have a good night, Zeebs. Not to worry, Sky. Thank you. Speculative market strikes again. Yeah. So. I just have stuck in my head now that question, which brush should I use? Like it just feels like a question that will that just brings more questions. That's gonna bother me now. It's gonna stick in my head until the end of the night, most likely. Although how is my PC doing? I need to double check some things. 5% frame buffer, 63% of the video engine, memory load. Okay, so memory load, so the graphics card is fine. CPU is still hot. I don't like how AMD just apparently just runs hot all the time. So, excuse me. All right. Did I have notes? There's technically like which brush should I be using, but the question ought to be if I wanted to get a specific effect, what should I be doing? Because that's a technical question that could be broken down. Yeah. I guess I was just jumping to conclusions with blue because it was like, oh, which brush should I use? And it was like, it was very much in the realm of like, like he wants to use a brush for sketching purposes because he wanted it to, you know, be there. Didn't know what he wanted, so the question is moot. Yeah. But yeah. I get a few people in like Discord asking me questions about like OBS and what have you. Like Blue I know has asked me about OBS stuff, and I offer my help where I can. And then I know Code has asked me to help him out with oh my god, I need to help out Code with his 3D model. Code the Yoshi has a 3D model, and Code the Yoshi wants to use it in VR chat and do it for VR streaming. And I'm going to need to help him with that. We could have told him to try the classic round hard edge brush, not all those fucking fancy ass fuck brushes. No, we wouldn't because that's literally default. Y'all spoiled. Try the class that you're using already. So. Yeah. But no, I need it. So yeah, I'll need to help. So at some point, I need to help out Code the Yoshi with their 3D model because I don't know if it's their 3D model they're asking help for to get it set up for use in like VR chat and VR streams, or if they're asking how to set up OBS. So I'll probably need to follow up with them. I had another person asking me. Hang on, let me see if I have their thingy. PNG. Oh, they want. I had another user ask me of like how do they make their like, you know, their avatar grow based off of like the current number of viewers and such. Like I've definitely I get people in the chat, and I reckon maybe this is just more on the side, like maybe this is more of like when you're working in the what the fuck, he wasn't. I guess he wasn't. Is Blue online right now is the question. I don't think he is. I think he's working right now. I think... Let me just double check. I'm pretty sure he's... Yeah, no, he's... Yeah, he's not online. He's busy working, so he's doing his thing. All right. Ding dong. Close that. Fucked up. Yeah. No, just I do hope Blue enjoys drawing and what have you. I hope he sticks to it. Lord knows I have gone through like so many different like sort of creative avenues, and I'll be real with you, streaming has been the longest one. Like I have been at this now for like 4 years, and like this is probably like the least creative of them, because quite frankly it's just a lot of little things. It's like, oh, I know how to play video games to some degree, play the video game. I know how to set up my PC to stream, do all that nonsense. I know how to put browser sources into an overlay, and I know how to do a little bit of like the 3D nonsense, how to work in like I don't know enough to be like, oh, this one thing is like, you know, the perfect thing to be able to do like an art or a software development stream or anything like that. I just know a lot of I just know like a lot of little things. But like in the past, I have done 3D sculpting, 3D modeling, 2D drawing, music, both composure and like just normal piano like nonsense. Writing. I used to do a lot of creative writing. I think that's why I got into like ERP so easily, is because like it was a nice like little flexibility of the whole, you know, I was struggling to do English classes back in middle school until I went into special classes, and then I was a fucking wizard at it in high school, and when we went into university, people just didn't really flex imagination, and they were just dealing with the technical problems. He also wasn't using pen pressure from his hat. Tilt pressure was active, though. The two artists in my... Oh, chat! Hang on a second. I need to show you something. People in uni also don't know how to write, I notice. It's one of those things where, like, the university I was at when I was doing, like, creative writing, I don't know why, creative writing was in the same faculty. Like, they had a faculty for arts and business. They put the art degrees and the art classes. So this is like creative writing for children, creative writing with illustration, the basics, art. Like they put all that stuff in the same faculty as how to be an IT professional, how to start a business, negligence cases. Like they put art in the same category as business. And like it was wild for me. And I was doing an IT degree back at the university, like the one before I went to QUT, a university for the real world. I went to a university. I didn't have a really good like high school graduate score, so I went into this, you know, weaker university. And you know, I went into the IT degree. The IT degree was in business and arts, which was the weirdest thing, because IT, what I was hearing from like QUT, UQ, Griffith, like all the other universities, IT in all those other places was seen more as like an engineering kind of degree, where it's like you need to have like a fundamental understanding of the technical and breaking down of small tasks and all that kind of nonsense, and before you can, like, you know, do the nonsense of like, I built a website that will do this thing and, you know, will make millions before Zuckerberg sucks me off. But yeah, like in this other course, I was like, nope, you're going to be IT, where you're going to learn how to create a, you know, really quick network before you start your business or some nonsense. I don't know. Any whoosies. In order to raise my grade point average to go to another university, I just picked up the, I picked up like some creative writing courses just as a minor, which was so hilarious. And like they were going into things about, where was my brain? Where was my train of thought going? They were like, the creative writing was going into things of like, you know, the sort of the obvious things where it's like, okay, you want to, like, your stakes should be going, you know, you start relatively low, work your way up. And then there was like some interesting stuff where it's like every narrative has a story. It doesn't matter if you agree or disagree, or if it's obvious or or like every narrative, every single one of them, Bluey, Persona, Ona, the PSAs, everything when dealing with fiction has a story. And like predominantly it can be one of two ways that it is presented in the narrative. The story can either tell you the lesson subtly, like an injection, like a syringe, or it can be very fucking blunt, like a hammer. Those are the two ways that, you know, that narratives are like have their lessons shared. I remember that. That's like the one thing I remember properly. Also, I need to read up on how much I missed. Whether people in uni also don't know how to write, I noticed. The interns at my place have dog shit handwriting nowadays, like watching kids scribbling gibberish. Not to say they were illiterate, but they don't know how to structure their exercise and reports, so their papers were incomprehensible. Modern equivalent of why would I learn cursive? No one reads this. Why would I learn to write? No one has a phone. Everyone has a phone. Not me looking at my language glyph front, which was designed for a digital format in a world where no one speaks verbally anyhow. Yeah. I remember... Actually, before I go into my crazy tangent chat, I need to show you something really awesome. So, a couple weeks ago, it was my birthday. October 12th was my birthday, and I decided to like stream and what have you. And Izzy is an artist. You should go check them out. They do some cool stuff. Oh, it's been a while since they've done art. But yeah, you should go check them out. They have like a Blue Sky and such. Go to Blue Sky. Don't go to Twitter or X or whatever the fuck it's called. Any whoosies. Izzy is an amazing artist. I've commissioned them for stuff in the past as for things. But Izzy did something. Izzy did, like, I was going through Metal Gear Solid during the early October, late September, and they drew for my birthday. It was a little late, but still, it was a birthday gift. I absolutely love it. They drew this. Careful, it has a huge bulge. It's covered. Just whoop. Whoop. So yeah. Also belated happy birthday. Thank you, Angro. But yeah, it was fucking awesome. I loved it. It was just so I've gotten gift art in the past, all right? Like, look, there's gift art all over the place. I love every single piece of artwork ever given to me is most certainly, like, I feel like, you know, it gives a dopamine hit, okay? It's gonna go on the corkboard. I don't have a corkboard in real life, so we go with the next alternative, which is, you know, let's pretend in my 3D streaming room that this is a corkboard. And that I put the digital art and such like that. I have gotten all sorts. I'm pretty sure Angrel did... Okay, so Angrel did the one in the bottom left there. Hang on, I'm gonna need to zoom in. So Angrel did that one, this one here. And then Alurian did that one. Zevin did that. Me losing my shirt was by Freckles. Leon Hart did, me with the ice cream with Leon. I don't know who did this one. The code, calling me for IT help, and he's just like, Grant, help. So yeah, and then we've got, like, all of these things. Also, like, look at this, like, here's another one from Angrel. Like, he's just a silly little Kirby Zeebs. And then this one was done by, I think it was Sour Cream. No. This was done by Sour Cream. It was Zebra in a maid outfit in like What's-a-Mahoozy style. This one was done by Kusaki. Like, look, and this one was done by Sour Cream as well. This is that one. That one was done by Izzy as well, I believe. So there has been artwork like gifted to me and such. I've commissioned artwork. I don't show off the commissioned artwork on this board because, one, I paid for it. I don't want to mix gifted art with commissioned artwork. I feel like it would fudge people's brains and such, because I don't want to give the illusion of like everything on this board is gifted, and then some people are like, hang on a second, you paid me to draw that wasn't a gift. I don't want to like, you know, pretend and that like, you know, I don't know. I don't want to like do like a front or something like that as well. And I don't want to like, and I want to have this as like a demonstration less of like, you know, the quality of the work and more of a heartfelt appreciation of any work that is presented to me. Like, I can't draw for shit. All right? Like, I can't like this one here in the bottom right here is probably the closest I'll go, or maybe that one in the top right there. But yeah, so like absolutely any gifted art is most certainly going to probably go on this wall. I'm probably going to I'll probably put the Solid Snake one somewhere on this wall as well, quite frankly, because I love it. I think it's absolutely awesome. I know there's a big fucking bulge there, but it's not like I don't know, it doesn't feel like I don't know, maybe Twitch will have a problem? Who knows? I'll check in with like, cause it wasn't exposed or anything. It's in his pants. Like, that's the thing. It's in pants. Like, they don't have a problem with me, like, with my giant pecs, even when my shirt gets stolen. So maybe they won't have a problem with the Solid Snake art. Boop, boop. There we go. But yeah, any whoosies. Back to the rant. Like, yeah, so I did some creative art, not creative art. I did some creative writing classes in university to help raise my GPA, my grade point average. And yeah, there was people where, you know, they're learning to do the creative writing, and it was very much a case of, you know, oh, if you're telling a story, there needs to be a lesson underneath of like, you know, and it can either be subtle as a syringe or, you know, as you know, overt as a hammer. But and like different stuff like that. There wasn't like a thing of like, oh, let's, you know, unpack like people's, you know, imagination of like, oh, like what is a quote unquote good idea and such. At one point, they were ripping into Dan Brown on like his first chapter of the Da Vinci Code, pointing out of like, oh, hey, like, you know, good creative writing is not like the be all for like being a successful writer. Look at all this look at all these like, you know, inaccuracies where it's like, you know, how does a gate with no noise do a thundering, how does a gate like slide with thunder like sliding doesn't do like, you know, thundery noise? How is a shadow white and all this kind of like he was doing all those different kinds of rips into it and such like that. And then he pointed out of like, oh, if you want to make money as a creative writer, what you actually do is you talk to faculties and governments to get yourself a grant to help, you know, support you going to another place or you staying alive and doing the research and what have you. You write your novel or what have you, and then you have a portion of it not donated but like loaned to a library or some bullshit. So it was more of a case of write a lot of things, and through the mixture of loans and grants and what have you, you get money and such like that. Don't expect to make money because you did a bestseller of like Dan Brown proportions and were able to live off the royalties or something like that. So there was that, which wasn't too great. But yeah, any whoosies. There was like a creative writing assignment or something like that where you just had to write like something really quick. I think it was like 1,000 words or something like that, which, you know, some people can do that with like relative ease and such like that. I think I struggled a little bit, but the idea, I remember there was people that were coming up with, they were like, oh, it's two brothers in a car and they crash and like they're both stuck in a cave. And then there was another one where it's like, oh, like a mother-daughter at a cafe, and they were like, you know, talking about their day or something like that. Like there was stuff that was like a little bit, I'll be frank with you, the openers were boring. And then they come to me and they're like, so Grant, what did you write about? I'm like, oh, I wrote about, you know, a person that was dealing with a doppelganger inside his head. And they were in this argument that the doppelganger wanted to take over the person's body because as the person was like, you know, not living up to his potential, and so because the doppelganger was the one that was like confident and such. So obviously, like I was going through like a Victor, like a Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde kind of problem, and the peeps that were there like were like, what's a doppelganger? And I was just sort of like, God damn it. Like, you can probably argue it's so hidden if worse comes to worse. Me looking at the random fix I wrote Lamau. Yeah, so... But yeah, so, like, universities are not about... They're not about, like, fueling creativity and such like that. Like, you definitely need to bring creativity and such. They're more about, like, just smacking you into reality of, like, oh, hey, you think you're gonna write something, like, a couple of times and you're gonna end up like, Stephanie Meyer? Nah, get shit on. Yeah. But no, but yeah, I've gone through, like, all kinds of different, like, creative avenues and such like that, and, through a mixture of, like, not fully satisfied and, needing them to be, like, really quick completions and what have you before I get tired of them and such. This one here, the whole, like, streaming and chatting with you kind of thing, yeah, I'll put it down in it's like the least creative of all the different pursuits that I've done so far, but it's the one that I've done the longest, and there's, like, small little bits of times where it's like, oh, hey, going into Blender and making something silly in 3D, like a top hat or a bandana or a cigarette that's gonna smoke, but I can't show you the cigarette because, unfortunately, trying to use the particle system in Unity uses so much of my GPU's resources that the stream starts stuttering. It ain't great. Yeah. No. I think I am going to go and call the stream here, because, I said it was going to be a short and sweet stream, and I think it's fair enough to do it as that. And plus, what's more is, like, I have not played we've been done with Dispatch for at least half an hour, and I kind of need to, like, stop waffling on and just say we're gonna go, like, raid into someone or something like that, and let's go raid into Nubs. It looks like they're doing some Fallout. Yeah, let's go raid into Nub. They're a femboy dingo or something like that. Should be good stuff. If you are not subscribed, that is okay. You're welcome to use whatever other emotes that you feel like would be appropriate for the himbo raid message. I'm going to be using my emotes. But yeah, I will be online again. Hang on, where's the thing? I will be back online Sunday morning, which is Saturday night for the Americans. It will be a terrible time for the Europeans, I think, unfortunately, but it will be a perfect time for the Americans and the Australians if you wake up early enough. And I am going to be going through Ghost of Yotei. I'm going to need to put some time into Ghost of Yotei's, like, side and, like, inconsequential content, so then that way when I do start streaming Ghost of Yotei, I'm not getting distracted with the side content, I'm actually pursuing one of the main content things. So that's going to be, that's going to be the stream for next time. It should be in my stream schedule on, like, the Twitch website. If you want to keep up with me, I have a Blue Sky, a Twitter, and all that kind of nonsense. GrantZeebs is the name. I don't use Twitter really all that often, so look to Blue Sky. But otherwise, I want to say thank you everyone who came along to tonight's stream of going through Dispatch. I greatly appreciate any of you that are here. It's really great to do a like impromptu stream. I hope you all have a good morning, afternoon, evening, night, and I hopefully will see you all next time. Bye for now.